Ever heard of an empire where women held the real power?
Hmm, interesting. Like where the queen calls the shots.
Even more than that, we're talking about the Ashanti Empire, where the queen mother could overrule the king himself.
Now that's something you don't hear every day.
It really flips the script on how we usually think of empires, right?
Yeah, totally.
So today, we're diving deep into their world, using historical accounts and even some of their own oral traditions. We'll uncover how the Ashanti built a powerful kingdom.
Okay, sounds fascinating. I'm ready to learn. What's the game plan?
We're going to cover everything: their military might, their rich culture, even their involvement in the slave trade, which, as you know, ultimately contributed to their downfall.
Yeah, a lot of empires have that dark side, sadly.
But let's start at the beginning.
Okay, back to square one. When did this empire get going?
It all started way back in the 17th century,
Got it. So pretty long history.
with a small clan in what's now Ghana, the Oyoka.
The Oyoko. Okay. What were they like?
They weren't about conquering land in the traditional sense. They built power by uniting people, forming alliances, and absorbing other clans.
Ah, so more of a network growing through connections and strategy.
Exactly. So for them, power wasn't about land, but about the people who lived on it.
It's like a totally different mindset, right?
Completely. And this idea is key to understanding the Ashanti. It shaped everything.
I'm seeing that already. So how did they go from this small clan to a whole empire?
Well, that's where Osei Tutu enters the picture. A charismatic leader who united the Akan states and formed a kingdom.
Osei Tutu, I'm guessing he was a pretty important figure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He saw an opportunity to challenge the big bully in the region, the Denkira kingdom.
Dankira, got it. And why were they the bad guys?
They were known for their harsh rule. They demanded tribute, humiliated other leaders, and controlled all the trade routes.
Sounds like a classic power-hungry empire.
They weren't exactly winning any popularity contests, that's for sure. But how did Osei Tutu manage to stand up to them?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. David and Goliath situation.
He refused to bow down to the Denkira king when he demanded it.
Bold move. Talk about throwing down the gauntlet.
And with that, he united the other Akan states to fight for their freedom.
So basically, he flipped the Denkira's strategy on its head, using people power against them.
Exactly. And this all led to a pivotal moment in Ashanti history, the Battle of Fayese in 1701,
Okay, this must have been a big one.
a turning point. Osei Tutu's forces, with their allies, completely crushed the Denkira.
Wow, that's impressive. So that's how the Ashanti kingdom was born.
You got it. But there's another element to this story, something that became a powerful symbol for them: a golden stool.
A golden stool, that sounds unusual.
This isn't just any stool. Legend has it that after that victory, Osei Tutu's advisor, a powerful priest, summoned it from the heavens.
Like literally from the sky.
The story goes it descended right into Osei Tutu's lap.
Talk about divine intervention.
It symbolized his right to rule and the unification of the Akan states.
Okay, I can see why a golden stool falling from the sky would make an impression.
Oh, it did.
Right.
And get this, that golden stool still exists today. It's hidden away, revered as a living embodiment of the Ashanti soul.
No way, they kept it all this time. That's incredible.
It's made up of 7 pieces, each representing one of those unified clans.
So it's not just gold, it's a symbol of their whole history.
Exactly. But the golden stool was also part of a bigger system that Osei Tutu put in place.
Okay, so he wasn't just about flashy symbols.
He was a savvy leader. He established a structured state, strengthened the military, set up a clear hierarchy, and codified laws.
Sounds like he was building a real powerhouse.
And he drew from existing traditions, but also added his own innovations.
Like what? Any examples?
Well, for example, his military reforms were key to their success. They even adopted European weapons and tactics.
Smart move, adapting to the times.
Absolutely. But let's talk about that hierarchy.
Right, you mentioned it was unique.
The king was at the top, but his power wasn't absolute.
Interesting. So who else had a say?
A council of elders, and get this, the queen mother.
Wait, the queen mother? Like his mom?
It's more complicated than that. The Ashanti were a matrilineal society. Lineage and inheritance went through the mother's side.
Ah, okay, so more like a powerful matriarch.
Exactly. She had a huge role. She helped choose the next king, could even veto candidates, and her authority extended to everyone, even the king.
Wow, that's serious power, not just a figurehead.
Not at all. She was responsible for women, children, resolving disputes, maintaining social harmony.
It's amazing to see that level of female empowerment in a historical society. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does challenge our assumptions about the past.
Absolutely. So we've got a powerful kingdom, unique governance, and a strong military. What fueled their economy?
Well, we can't talk about the Ashanti without talking about gold.
Of course, gold, the classic currency of
They
empires.
had tons of it, traded it with Europeans along with other goods.
Classic trade route setup.
But for the Ashanti, gold wasn't just about wealth. It held deep cultural and spiritual significance.
I can imagine. It's a precious metal after all.
It adorned everything. Their leaders, their regalia, their art.
So it's like woven into their whole identity.
But of course, there's the other side of that trade we can't ignore. The slave trade.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
It's a dark chapter, intricately linked to their economic growth and, sadly, their eventual downfall.
It's a complex issue, for sure. One we'll need to explore more.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even societies with great achievements have their flaws and contradictions. But we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, we've set the stage. Now I'm ready to see how it all plays out.
When we come back, we'll delve into their interactions with the British, the rising tensions, and the decline of this once mighty empire.
Can't wait to hear it. This is already shaping up to be a fascinating story.
So last time we talked about the Ashanti building this incredible empire through uniting people, not just conquering land.
Yeah, really unique approach. And then that whole golden stool thing.
A powerful symbol. But now, things are about to get interesting. Enter the British.
Yes. The British Empire. Always expanding, weren't they?
They were. And their arrival in West Africa really changed things for the Ashanti. At first, it was all about trade. The Ashanti saw them as just another group to work with.
So no immediate red flags, just business as usual.
Right. But as the British got more powerful, well, their ambitions grew too.
They wanted it all, huh?
Pretty much. They wanted control, especially over the Ashanti's gold and trade routes.
And this is where that clash of worldviews comes in. The Ashanti focused on people, the British on land.
Exactly. And that difference would cause a lot of problems. See, the Ashanti saw land as something shared by the community. The British, they wanted to own it, exploit it.
Totally different ideas about what land means, bound to cause friction. So when did things start to go south?
Well, the British were clever. They noticed that not everyone loved the Ashanti.
I mean, no empire is universally loved, right? There's always someone who feels left out.
True. And the British used that to their advantage. They made alliances with groups who resented the Ashanti.
Like the Fonte, right? I remember reading about them.
Yep. Classic divide and conquer strategy.
Effective, sadly. So how did the Ashanti respond when things finally boiled over?
The first major clash came in 1824. And guess what? The British didn't exactly have an easy win.
Oh, I thought their military was superior by then.
On paper, maybe.
Yeah.
But the Ashanti were fierce. They knew the land, used guerrilla tactics. They even killed a top British commander.
No way. So the Ashanti actually held their own in these early fights.
They did. And it shocked the British, forced them to rethink their whole strategy.
They realized conquering the Ashanti wouldn't be a walk in the park.
Not at all. So they changed tactics, brought in more troops, better weapons.
But they kept playing that divide and conquer game too, right?
Of course, weakening the Ashanti from within. It became a long, brutal war of attrition.
Must have been a desperate time for the Ashanti.
Absolutely. They were fighting for their homeland, their way of life, everything they held dear. But the British kept pushing, taking advantage of those internal divisions. And then came a major turning point. The War of the Golden Stool.
I've heard of this. It was a big deal, wasn't it? What year did this happen?
1900. And it all started with a huge mistake by a British governor.
What did he do?
He demanded to sit on the Golden Stool.
He wanted to sit on it. Seriously. Didn't he understand what it meant to them?
Seems not. He saw it as just a symbol of power. Thought sitting on it would show British dominance.
Oh man, that's so clueless. The Golden Stool wasn't just a chair, it was their soul, their history.
Exactly. It was sacred, and this demand. Total disrespect.
I can't imagine how furious the Ashanti must have been. Talk about a cultural clash. It's like walking into someone's home and demanding to wear their most treasured heirloom, completely missing the point.
That's a good way to put it. And of course, it sparked outrage. The Ashanti fought back with everything they had. But this time, well, they were outmatched.
So the British finally won.
They did. Their king was captured and exiled. The heartland fell under British control. But
There's always a but with history.
they never got the Golden Stool.
No way. The Ashanti hid it.
They did. Protected it. It became a symbol of their resistance, even in defeat. And a reminder, their spirit wasn't broken. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. The Ashanti Empire, truly a fascinating story.
Yeah, they really flipped the script on how we think of empires, building power through people, not just land grabs.
And that Queen Mother. I mean, talk about female leadership.
It's incredible, isn't it? She had real authority. Makes you wonder how many other unique systems we've missed in history.
It really does. But even beyond the structures, there's something else that strikes me. Their resilience.
Absolutely. Think about it. Centuries of conflict, then British colonization. And yet,
Hmm.
they held on to their traditions, their identity.
That's powerful. Culture finding a way to endure.
Exactly. It shows the power of shared stories, rituals passed down over generations.
And of course, we can't forget that golden stool. Hidden, protected, waiting for the right moment.
A physical embodiment of their resilience. A symbol that never fell into British hands.
So powerful. But what happened after the War of the Golden Stool? Life under British rule couldn't have been easy.
It wasn't. They were part of the Gold Coast colony, their traditional systems disrupted, but they never gave up.
So it was a constant struggle, holding on to their identity while navigating a new reality.
Exactly. But they were smart about it. Used their skills in negotiation and strategy to gain concessions from the British.
So they did have some wins.
They did. They kept control over some local affairs, kept their customs and traditions alive as much as they could.
And the Golden Stool. Still hidden, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, carefully guarded. A symbol of hope for the future.
And that future did arrive. Ghana gained independence in 1957. A huge moment for the Ashanti.
Huge. A testament to their strength and perseverance. And the Golden Stool. It was brought out of hiding, returned to its rightful place.
Wow, can you imagine witnessing that? After all those years, a symbol of unity restored.
Must have been an incredible moment. The Ashanti spirit, unbroken.
So as we wrap up, what's the biggest lesson here for our listeners?
I think it's multi-layered. Challenge your assumptions about empires, about leadership. Recognize the power of cultural resilience, even in the face of huge obstacles.
Learn from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Appreciate the complexity of history.
Exactly. The Ashanti story is about the human spirit. Adapting, resisting, overcoming. It's a story that has so much to teach us.
And for those who want to learn more, dive into their art, their social structures, their history. There's so much to discover.
It's a journey worth taking. And who knows, maybe it'll spark some new insights into our own lives, our own world.
That's what we hope for. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.